Thanks, Rob. We appreciate it. Again, guys, if you're just joining us, no, Sean, I actually can't hear you. If you're just joining us, make sure that you put your name and where you're from over in the chat panel. We'll get started with the webinar here in about 5 to 6 minutes. We're going to let some people filter in, and we'll get right to it. So thanks for those of you that have joined us so far.
Eddie, can you hear me yet? Can you hear me now, Eddie? All right, if you're just joining in, put your name and where you're from in the chat box, and we're going to get started in about 2 minutes. All right, getting a lot of people in here from Oklahoma.
There we go. I got you, Sean.
All right, cool. And awesome. We'll have a few polls going up just to kind of judge where you guys are at. So feel free to answer the polls that are popping up on your screen. First one, just if you're actively doing digital marketing now. We just want to get a judge where some of you are coming from. That way we can create more content for you with plans and day-to-day things you can do. I know we have a lot of clients on here that we actively work with, which appreciate you guys coming on. It's going to be a great webinar. Eddie's put a lot of thought into to help you kind of take your conversions further from the work that we've been doing, but to also help, generate more revenue.
Eric from Oklahoma Disaster, good to see you on here, sir.
All right, if you're just joining us, go ahead and put your name and where you're from in the chat box. Great to see you, Michelle from Servpro of Tyler.
All right, guys, we're going to give it just a couple more minutes just to allow people to filter in. Again, if you were just now joining us, please leave your name and where you're from over in the chat box, and we'll get started here in just a little bit. I think you guys are going to find that this is a big eye-opener as to what either your current digital marketing company is or is not doing, and how much stake you actually have in the game to be able to assist. I'm going to go ahead and start my screen share now.
And if you're just joining us, there's a poll up. We're going to have a few polls just throughout the webinar to kind of judge what area and feedback, so if we can address any questions. And we will have time for Q&A at the end of the webinar as well. But go ahead and pick your answers on the polls if you see that up there. First one's just, are you actively doing daily digital marketing in your local area? Which many of you are, which is awesome. So it's going to be a perfect webinar for you, talking about, you know, when the phone calls do come in, to make sure you're getting the highest conversion rate. Kenrick and Brock from ServPro Norman. We got ServPro St. George here. Rob from All American. Hope you're doing well. ServPro Virginia Beach. Nice to meet you, Angela. Hey, Paula from ServPro Denver.
We do actually have to share Rob's comment, Sean. Rob did say hello to the folks that are the best in digital marketing.
I have a million different things. I have.
Hey, Jason from ServPro West Jordan. All right, we're going to get started in about 1 minute. If you're just joining us, put your name, where you're from in the chat box, and we'll go ahead and get started in just a few minutes. Genevieve from Quebec. Nice to see you on here again. Melissa from Octagon Cleaning and Restoration in Windham. Thanks for joining us. Tony with South Colorado Springs. All right, Eddie, you can go ahead and get started.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Sean. My name is Eddie Green, and I am Vice President of Sales for Tier Level. Had to throw that in there just to mess with Sean based on a conversation that we had yesterday. I wanted to basically let you guys know that I spent a lot of years in restoration as a commercial accounts specialist. So one of the big benefits to that was that I got to see the advantages of digital marketing, but didn't truly understand digital marketing until I jumped over into this industry. So, you know, one of the things that I had to do as a director of business development was always prove to the people that I reported to whether or not there was ROI for the marketing dollars that were going out, whether it was television ad spend, radio ad spend, digital marketing dollars, even coming all the way down to having a company come in or taking someone to lunch, you know, and things like that. One of the other things after jumping into this industry that I came to the realization very quickly was that people did not understand whether or not their digital marketing company was actually giving them, was actually making them money, or secondly is what their stake or responsibility was, not just hiring a digital marketing company, but the interaction that they had to have with them, and what were they doing with the calls that were coming in. And more often than not, what we saw was that people did not have an answer as to how many calls were coming in, how much revenue was being generated via the digital marketing campaign. They just didn't have answers. So we're going to address that, show you guys how to prove whether or not not your digital marketing efforts are actually making you money. Because the one thing Sean and I have always prided ourselves in speaking to clients is that we will never be a bleed or a liability to your organization. We will always be an asset. If your phone's not ringing, we're not doing our job, and we're going to just get down to some bare bones analytics and show you basically how it's digital marketing 101 and its interpretation of it and what your stake is to do that. So we're going to go ahead and move forward. Sean does have a poll up that's asking currently right now, are you guys posting daily on Google My Business? And if you're not doing your own digital marketing or SEO, are they posting every single day on your behalf? And if you don't know, there's probably should have been, that third answer of I don't know. If you don't know, just say no. Okay. So let's look at the next at what we're going to be doing here. So is your digital marketing company effective? I guess probably the biggest question you're going to have is, how do you know? Can you honestly say that they're driving revenue, or are they just an added expense? So whenever we take a look at assets and liabilities within organizations, I looked at it as a director of business development, and Sean shared the same sentiment, that if a salesperson was not collecting at least 5 times their annual base salary, that they were a liability to the organization. And people are like, oh my gosh, so if you're salaried at $40,000 a year, you need to be generating at least $200,000 a year in revenue to cover your services, because most companies provide a company vehicle, or they're paying mileage. They're paying your expenses. There's a lot of times there's clothing allowance. There may be equipment allowances if you were like me and carried production equipment on your marketing vehicle. So we all the time had to make sure that we were quantifying or paying for ourselves. You need to hold your digital marketing company to the same standard. So if you don't, is your digital marketing company being effective? Well, there are several different things that you can look at as to whether or not they are. First thing is do they interact with you at all? How often do you hear from your dedicated client coaches? Are they talking to you about the challenges that you're having with your business? Are they talking to you about strategic ways to be able to drive call volume to you? Are you getting monthly reporting from them? And so on. But then you're going to also see that if they do bring the calls to the table, what are you doing with those calls? Because that's as far as we as a digital marketing company can take it, you would think. And I'm going to show you where we differentiate ourselves from any other digital marketing company in the United States, because we are niche based in the restoration industry, because we understand the industry. We know how to engage the consumer. So here is going to be a big differentiator between us and other digital marketing companies. You need to challenge your digital marketing company that you may be working with now. Can they provide you with training in restoration, either for your sales team, or can they provide you with training for your administrative staff to show how to convert these calls into revenue? If they can't, you may be working with the wrong company. And I have no bones in being able to say that, because we can. So I'm going to get into the bare bones basics of it. I'm going to try to not do as much talking today so that we can allow a lot of time for question and answer, but I want to make sure that I'm jumping in. So you guys, as restoration owners or business development people, or whatever your stake is in the marketing part of the equation on the digital side, you have to take ownership of your part of the equation. I operate on the principality of extreme ownership. My book of business was my responsibility. It was I did not want anybody else to touch my book of business, because I fully believed, had the passion, that I could bring the best service to the table. Your digital marketing company should feel the same way. They should be providing you with reporting. You should be getting accurate reporting every month showing the calls and activity of your campaign. But here is where this stops. They can only make your phone ring. From there, it's on you. And so what exactly does that mean? And we'll get into that here in just a second. And what that means is that you have to convert the calls that are being brought to the table into revenue. Okay. Sounds simple. It's really not. Okay. So let's get into really what conversion is. Okay. It can be incredibly frustrating. if you don't know. And there are several objections that I know you guys are going to have whenever it comes to conversion, but let's just break it down into something simple. So the first thing you have to know is how many calls are coming in from your SEO endeavors or from social media. How are you tracking that? Are they on a spreadsheet? It tells you, okay, this call came in as a referral from a friend. This call came in as part of TPA work. This call came in from the national call center. This call came in from Google. This call came in from Facebook. If you can't quantify those numbers, there's a big problem. So once you do know where all of these calls are coming from, and as business owners, you guys want to make sure that you accept the responsibility of your ROI. If I take somebody out to a $200 lunch, I guarantee you the owner of that organization is going to ask me, are we going to get business from these people? Well, that should be no different whenever it comes to your Google calls. Your Google calls, you should know how many of those came in, because here's a really quick little caveat. On the Google My Business reporting that you're getting for your digital marketing, we can only track the actual physical calls that are affected from the call now whenever it's a call to action from them. That customer may be looking for something and then come back after the fact and call you, and that still counts for your digital marketing SEO campaign, but we don't have the ability to track it. So if we bring a report that you got 50 calls, you probably got more than that. Odds on favorite, you got more than that, because we can only track the ones that were a call to action from right then. Should I add anything about that right there, Sean?
Huh?
I said, did you want to add
No,
anything about that
no,
call to action?
you're right on point there. So no, that's absolutely correct. It's really about, just making sure that, you are checking those analytics and understanding where it's coming from. And if you don't know, I mean, a lot of times we work with owners that they're busy. It's hard for them to get in touch with us, but because of their schedule. But they do need to make a point, if they're spending at least on a quarterly, monthly basis, as often as they can, spend 5-10 minutes just going over those reports so they understand where it's coming from.
Right. So the second part of that equation is, did any of those calls turn into a job? And then what was the average invoice of each call that came in for that month? And we're going to break this down here in a little bit. Divide those jobs by the no jobs to create what your conversion percentage, because to me, that's going to identify potentially an issue that you may have with the people that are answering the phone. On what the job versus no job percentage, so, well, we had a lot of tire kickers this month, and the tire kickers, we're going to get into that about how to recognize buying signs. One of my backgrounds before I came into the restoration industry, whenever I was in my mid 20s and early 30s, I ran Fortune 50 call centers, and my clients were like AOL, Chase Manhattan, Citibank, Daymark Corporation. So the art of selling over the phone was exactly that. It was an art form. It was all about inflection. It was all about active listening. And this is a lost art that our administrative staff may or may not have, because we're going to get into the tire kicker mentality and why those are actual buying signs and should have been taken to the hands of either a sales professional or an estimator that can convert that. And then you need to know the total revenue generated monthly from your call volume that's being generated by your digital marketing company. So let's get down to the basics. When it comes to your business and your digital marketing campaign, can you answer these simple questions? How many of the calls that came in from social media, Google My Business or SEO, or your pay-per-click campaigns were actual jobs? How much were the invoices of each of those jobs? What was the total revenue generated from social media, Google My Business, and SEO for the month? What did that translate to as the average invoice? And how many of those calls were jobs versus no jobs? If you can't answer these questions, then I have one question for you. How do you know if your digital marketing company is making you money or not? If you can't answer those basic questions, then it's real easy to point the finger and say your digital marketing company is not doing their job, or it's slow, or they're not effective. We're not selling based on what you're doing. So what ends up happening is we as a digital marketing company become one of the first, what you would consider an expense to cut. But more often than not, when the question is reverted back, well, are your salespeople producing 5 times their annual salary? And the answer is no, you're not willing to cut them. When in reality, when I've been on both sides of the fence, your liability are your salespeople, not your digital marketing company. And a lot of times it's really hard to come to terms with that. And a lot of it is due to ignorance. It's just due to the fact that we just don't know. So let's break it down into brass tacks. Okay, here's an example. We're going to use round numbers here. You get 100 calls from your Google My Business SEO social media campaign last month that's on your report. Okay, so we're going to say 100 calls came in. 40 of those calls by your tracking were turned into jobs, which is an extremely low conversion rate. 40% is very, very low by industry standard. I have clients converting as high as 94% of the calls that are coming in. We're just going to say that all of these calls, all 40 of those, are residential, that resulted in an industry average water loss of $2,250 per invoice. The average residential loss by industry standard is $2,250. If you take those 40 calls times the $2,250, that equates to $90,000 of revenue that was generated from your digital marketing efforts that month. You're not paying $90,000 for your digital marketing efforts. There is no way that that was a bleed. Now, I'm going to even break this down. What if you only got 5 calls? 5 times $2,250 is not what you were paying for your digital marketing effort that month. One call at $2,250 most of the time will pay for your single license effort. And if you're doing multiple licenses, then you're getting multiple reports. One residential water loss pays for your effort, for your digital marketing company. We generate a lot more than 1 call per month. Almost every digital marketing company can generate more than just 1 call per month if they're doing it right. So my question is, why would you fire the most cost-effective and efficient sales rep on your staff? If it just takes 1 call to pay for the services per license, and you convert that call into the loss, then it's more than paid for itself, and everyone gets more than 1 call. Now you sprinkle in some commercial calls because you're commercially centric. The average commercial invoice is $78.50. So now you're adding and padding more revenue. Your digital marketing company is making you money, yet everybody wants to suspend services or fire the digital marketing companies and hold on to their sales reps that aren't producing. That makes 0 sense from a business standpoint. The biggest reason that we have problems is because you can't answer these questions and can't track these analytics. And these are the analytics that prove to you that, wow, the cheapest way for me to be able to earn, especially right now, is digital marketing. So let's look at the inherent problems that lie within that, or the excuses. I believe you can either be an excuse or a solution. So you've got to stop making excuses, start making changes. Some of those changes might be training with the administrative staff, and we're going to get into that. You can have results, you can have excuses, but you can't have both. Okay, so let's talk about administrative staff. They're not recognizing buying signs. Questions like, when can you come out? How much will this cost? Can you send someone to evaluate? Are all buying signs. It's up to us as the sales professionals, or the estimators, or the owners, to get out in front of these and be able to go convert these into jobs. So we have to have the admin people have to be able to recognize the fact that these are buying signs and get out in front of every single one of these calls, as opposed to just taking them, going, Well, how much is this going to cost me? I don't know. It can range from such and such. Just say, tell you what, I'm going to get somebody out to come evaluate your situation. We'll shoot straight with you. That part of that call center training we provide to our clients at no charge. We will sit with your administrative staff and run them through the mill on how to recognize buying signs, listening to customer inflection, how to improve their active listening skills and get your conversion rate up to a much higher level. Sean and I will spend time on webinars with them. We even go visit with our clients whenever this stuff is not out there and do these residual trainings at no cost for our clients. The second problem is you don't track them. We can't capture that info. It's the heat of the moment. There are multiple touch points. I would not be able to speak intelligently to this if I had not worked at a very high level in the restoration industry. So I know there is the opportunity to be able to capture this info from either the initial point of contact until the completion of the job. Somebody can find out how that call was generated. We're just being lazy. And if you want to throw money away and not track it, I'll give you my bank routing number and you can just route it to me. I'm happy to take your money that you want to throw away. You have to be accountable to every single penny that's being spent in your business. Second is our third thing is that there's no reporting or tracking of marketing dollars going out versus ROI. I'll give you a perfect example. I spoke with a client the other day that was talking about suspending services. We went through and found out that the problem was their conversion. We did some training, their conversion rate is up, but I was talking to that director of business development. They had no idea how much revenue had been generated by the business development team this year. How can you run a successful business? You don't know your people are selling. You run a successful digital marketing campaign if you don't know the answers to these questions. Second, our thing, too many estimates, not enough voices. Again, this is a sales problem. If there are a lot of estimates out there for tire kickers and they're not being converted, you need to get salespeople out in front of these estimates to turn that into revenue. And lastly, no interaction or communication with their digital marketing company. They're the experts. I'm handing this to them. I don't need to talk to them. I don't need to interact with them. I just need them to do their job. It's really hard for a digital marketing company to be effective if we can't get the required content that we need to humanize and personalize your campaigns. If we can't get, we don't want to use stock photos. We don't use stock photos. We want to use your photos from your jobs, because people that are looking at your campaigns will recognize the areas that you're working in and know that it's coming from you. That humanizing factor, that educational factor that we can use from the interaction that we get from you and in interjecting your personality makes your campaigns even more successful. So I'm going to stop right here because I've thrown a lot of information at everyone, and I want to get into it on a case-by-case basis. So I'm going to open this up for questions. I'm going to let Sean answer the questions or ask the questions, and we're going to jump in. But talk to me about what you feel like is going on, with your digital marketing campaign. Can you effectively answer those questions? Do you have trackable reporting in process, or do you have trackable reporting in-house aside from the reporting that your digital marketing company is doing?
So the first question we got was, what kind of things should we be posting on Google My Business? So a lot of people don't. Let me kind of back up a little bit, because Google My Business is basically, that is your business listing on Google. That is where you go and put in your hours, your information. You check that consistently. You can put service scopes in there, upload photos of jobs, your building inside and out, and all types of information. Now, Google Plus, which was on the market years ago, they've kind of suspended all that, and they've kind of integrated a posting feature in Google My Business. And it's extremely beneficial because it allows you to put content out there daily as many times as you want, at a minimum once a day is what we recommend. And you can go in there and put things that you think people are searching for, like how to clean up COVID-19, how to remove water from your house. And then you can make it educational. So taking pictures, explaining processes that answer questions, that kind of highlight some of those keywords that people might be searching for. a lot of times people like get all hung up on water damage, fire damage, and I'm not ranking, I am ranking or whatever. But you got to understand the consumers are searching more in a humanizing way. They're picking up their phone and they're saying, how do I get water cleaned out of my house? How do I remove water? How do I dry my house after a water loss? What do I do after there's a fire in my kitchen? And things like that. So, providing answers to answer questions like that in the forms of educational content is really where it will go. And the cool thing about Google My Business is you can put a call now button in there. You can put a visit your website. You can put no link in there. So you can really do that. Now, another factor about Google My Business is it is very important to enhance the metadata in those photos that you're uploading, whether you're uploading them via profile, your services and things like that. But you can actually go into different software and actually add in keyword descriptions of those different photos that make it extremely helpful. If you have questions on that process, we'll definitely open up an opportunity for you guys to do one-on-one consultations for free. We can walk you through that in a little more technical detail as well. But overall, the best thing you should be posting daily is just educational content and just get started. If you want to start and do this for a week and then hit me or Eddie up, we'll look at it and tell you if you're doing a good job or if you need to reevaluate that. Do not hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions like that.
One thing I want to echo that Sean was talking about is the other morning, just woke up, didn't feel like cooking breakfast, and just thought, you know what, I want some Waffle House. I want a waffle. And it was, I looked on their Google locations to see whether or not they were doing carry out service, and every single one of their locations said that they were temporarily closed. And and we see this all the time with restoration companies that don't put that they're a 24/7 operation, or that they are an essential business and are currently open and able to go in and go do these COVID-19 cleanings. But when I actually just picked up the phone and called the Waffle House, and they answered, and I said, "Oh, I thought you guys were closed." Well, they said, "Well, why would you think that?" And I said, "Well, your digital marketing campaign shows that you are closed and that you're not open." And they said, "Well, we wondered why our business has slowed down so much." These are the things that we as a digital marketing company keep an eye on 24/7 for you, weather related events that are going to be coming up. You're never going to surprise us. We had a huge hailstorm come through here, and all of our clients in Oklahoma, we were actively out promoting that within minutes of the storm. And they were calling us going, "Hey, can you get something up?" And it's like, we already have. So we watch those things on a consistent basis, because that's our job. If your phone's not ringing, we're not doing our job, and we take that very seriously. But Sean had mentioned the metadata tagging too, which I know there's not a lot of digital marketing companies that are doing that, and it's enhancing our clients' profiles and getting them at the top of mind and presence for their Google My Business campaigns, because of the things that we're doing. And not tooting our own horn, but it kind of is. I am going to toot our own horn. We are one of the only, if not the only one, that posts every single day to your account, which is going to greatly improve your rankings and your visibility. But coming back, that generates more call volume. What are you doing with those calls? If you see a deficiency, you can't answer any of those questions, Sean and I are available for one-on-one to jump on a webinar with your staff and do some residual training with them about how to increase revenue. Because if you don't recognize those buying signs, or your administrative staff are not recognizing the signs from the calls we're driving to the table, it's just throwing money away. And we're not in an industry to where that can be lucrative or conducive to success. So we're here to be able to help you to go above and beyond, because we have the industry experience to be able to provide that type of relevant training. So Sean, do we have any other questions?
Yeah. And if you have a question, put it in the Q&A box or the chat box, and we'll get to it. Genevieve from Quebec asked, "What is the difference between Google AdWords and Google My Business?" So good question. So Google AdWords is basically like the pay-per-click. That's basically when you see those ads in Google, when you log into Google and they're at the top of the page. They typically range around 20% of the search volume of people actually following through. The organics are always going to be the higher percentage of what people are clicking on when they have a question. So basically, Google My Business is what you see when you see that map location. So it's all about proximity and what's closest, what has the best reviews, and then people look at those things. If you have a 1 or 2 star review and everybody else has 3, 4, and 5 star reviews, it really makes your business suffer because people rely on those reviews. Now, a lot of people get frustrated with that because people are like, well, somebody left me a fake review. My competitors did that. Don't get into the business of creating fake reviews. Get real customers, real relationships that put those on there. But yeah, Google AdWords is all about pay per click. It's about putting money out there, targeting keywords and things like that. It can be very, you can waste that money very quickly, like just putting water damage. If you don't allocate the parameters on that and you leave it on autopilot, people will be searching for, I got water damage on my iPhone, and that has nothing to do with what kind of work you do. So it's very important that you understand all these platforms and what works. But Google My Business, if you just go to Google My Business, you log in, if you set your account up, there's a lot of insights and data in there that can transcribe to how many people hit the call now button, how many people visited your website. And it's all free data. It's free data that really helps that. And, like Eddie said, when people are calling, I can't tell you how many times we've called customers and the person picking up the phone, it's just so unpleasant or just not asking questions. Like if you call and ask for somebody by name, they automatically assume it's a spam call, even though they might have a relationship with us. So they just go through the process, and it's sometimes concerning because it doesn't feel like there's confidence. Like, yes, we can take care of your water loss. We can take care of your fire loss. You have mold in your home? Okay, let us get somebody out there. There's that voice of confidence that is missing there, and it really hurts your business, especially for you bigger businesses that are getting bigger and bigger and you're not on the phone like you used to be probably when you started your business. You have to make sure you're listening in and seeing what's going on there. I highly recommend having a phone system that you can track calls and go back and listen to those so you can evaluate that if there's an issue. Because if you're getting 40, 50 calls just from organic search in Google My Business, or maybe some from your website, and you're slow, there could be a huge problem there with your front office staff and what you might need to change with that.
Well, I think one of the biggest missed opportunities is that I've heard it in consulting all over the United States with restoration companies and listen to their admin staff, is the admin staff will try to answer all the questions up front, and they'll be like, oh no, they were just calling because they just wanted to see what something would cost. We don't want to waste our time with that. We don't really know, and you guys as restoration professionals know this, we don't really know what we're up against until we get out and get eyes on it. So what is seemingly small to the administrative staff or is a potential tire kicker issue may end up being something bigger and needs to be addressed. And it's a good educational time now to be able to go out there, because the education is what's going to win it. So, let's just say, for example, it was some little old lady called because her dishwasher leaked on 10 square feet of hardwood floors in her kitchen. And she said, well, I just sopped it all up with a towel. Okay, well, it's the water. So now we get out there and say, well, let me moisture map this and take a look. Let's look at the cause of origin. I'm stepping on this hardwood here and I'm seeing the water come back up. Plus the water is going to be trapped underneath the vapor barrier against the concrete slab or against the subfloor, that's there. And plus, let's make sure that the water didn't get under the cabinetry and back into the wall structure. This is right here on an exterior wall. So, there's potential insulation in here that could have wicked up that water as well. So even though you sopped it up with a towel, there might be a little more damage than what we're looking at. And my deal is that we don't want your house, your sanctuary, to get sick from the water that we can't see. So let me just do a real quick, thorough moisture map and make sure that you're going to be okay. You may find out, and now you've just completely become the subject matter expert and told this person why they need to trust the professional as opposed to just sopping it up with a towel. Maybe sopping it up with the towel was all that was needed, but that face-to-face contact gives you a much higher chance of being able to close that job than if your administrative people are just trying to answer the questions from these so-called tire kickers over the phone. The second thing is going back to the pay-per-click stuff. Customers have become a lot more savvy. They understand that the first 3 or 4 people that they see at the top of that result paid to be there. It doesn't necessarily make them the best. So they're scanning down to see where are they in proximity to their home or business, and they're looking to see what kind of reviews to see whether or not you guys are worth your salt. So I always say the organic side of it is by far and away the most important. If you're trying to do digital marketing without the organic side, it's like trying to run the 100-yard dash with only one leg. you've got to make sure that you are very well established on the organic side, and then start addressing the pay-per-click side. So that's my opinion.
So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box. I know Rochelle said she wants to learn more about Google My Business. I threw a quick option up there. If you do want a one-on-one assessment, it's not trying to sell you services or anything like that. If you are interested, we'll answer that for you. But we will be more than happy to do a one-on-one assessment and just give you a few pointers that you can kind of take and run, especially with Google My Business. Some easy things. If you have questions about metadata, things like that, we'd be more than happy to go over that with you and help you out, especially when it comes down to maybe some coronavirus issues. And now that the country's getting ready to open back up, we're seeing that around the country right now. We'd be more than happy to help with that. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box as well, or the Q&A box, and we'd be happy to answer that. But a lot of this is just kind of evaluating. How many of you guys are seeing above 50-60% conversions with the calls coming in? Are many of you seeing that right now? You can put the answer in the chat box. But
or how many of you don't know? I think that's the biggest question is because more often than not, whenever I have these conversations one-on-one with prospective clients or with clients, they can't answer that question. It's like, we have no idea, how many calls, how many invoices. We'll see if we can get that information for you. This is beneficial information that you should have at your fingertips at all times. It's just taking ownership of that facet of the business to be able to prove, that either we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, and we're telling you that we are, or B, that you can see that it is beneficial to be running these campaigns and spending these marketing dollars.
Yeah, so a lot of you are answering no idea. Barb, thanks for the comment on there. We really appreciate you. Barb's one of our clients as well, and awesome operation. But yeah, I keep seeing that, a lot of you have clients that call you direct if you work in business development. Many of you owners on the phone are definitely, you might see that issue where you don't know. And it's something really, when you're running a business that has potentially millions and millions of dollars, you really have to look at what's being left on the table. Even as our business, like, how many conversations have we had throughout the last year that we haven't followed up, or we haven't looked? Rob Supertino said, this is why we are here at 5%. So, I mean, the good thing is, when you realize that number, whether it's extremely low right now, it's moving it to the next point. So Rob, if you're at 5%, getting it to 10% could be a huge opportunity for your business. 15, 20%. I don't see there's any reason why a company in this industry should be doing 50+% conversion when somebody's calling on the phone. Now, that 50% that doesn't go through, or more, or whatever, it could be people just fishing for cheap carpet cleaning or some ancillary services. But at the end of the day, if they have an issue and they need help, and you're equipped to get on site within a reasonable amount of time and perform emergency services, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to convert those opportunities.
Well, I think more importantly too is let's address the elephant in the room. As owners, they live life in the whirlwind. They can't keep their thumb on all of this stuff, and that's why there really has to be a very high level of accountability to the people that you have, either whoever heads up the administrative staff, whether it's the office manager or general manager of the operation. Your director of business development should always be able to tell you what your sales numbers are, what's in the pipeline. I ran conversion percentages on everything that I did as a sales professional. I had a spreadsheet. Sean can tell you, because whenever I joined the restoration industry, Sean was my direct report, and he can tell you I'm an analytics junkie. I could tell you what my priority response close percentage was, what my percentage of no job versus jobs were, what percentage of my calls were commercial versus residential, what my average invoice was, what I had sold for the year, and what my conversion percentage were based on how many estimates that I had out. I think that, extreme ownership is the only way to be successful in this industry. And I never wanted to look at the person I was reporting to and say, I don't know. I never wanted to say, well, how many jobs have you sold so far this month? I don't know. I never wanted to do that. So if you guys want more help in being able to put strategic systems in place so that all you have to do as owners or as leadership is ask questions and get the answers and the results that you want, email myself or Sean, because we are all about that, and being able to put systems in place, and be able to have answers for those kinds of things, to quantify every dollar that's being spent and have an answer for everything within your business. Operationally, I think that's important because, again, there's only so much you can do as an owner. You've got a business to keep running, so you have to be able to trust your staff. And if it's a situation that they can't answer these questions, reach out to Sean and I. We will be more than happy to help, whether you're our client or not. I mean, we believe in one Restoration Nation and colleagues, and Sean and I have a big servant's heart for this industry. Whether you're our client or not, we are here to help you.
Well, if there's not any more questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We will send out a replay of it in case you have any other team members that want to view. But like I said, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. We'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Even to our clients that are on here, if you feel like you're not going the depth that you need, let us know. We'll get on the phone with your client coach and make sure that you're getting the answers you need, and really taking a deep look at the conversion rates internally. Some of you are doing a great job at it. Those numbers, but anywhere we feel like we can add that extra 5%, 10% of conversion, let's just push the needle and get better at it. So, we can always get better. If we're not at 100%, we need to be working towards that number every given day. So, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining us right now. Eddie, anything else you want to add?
No, we just really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to do this. And again, like I said, some of it sounds pretty harsh, but I think, whenever you look, if you go back and look at how much money was left on the table by not having a higher conversion percentage, it could mean the difference. Realistically, could mean the difference in you being that $2 million performer and being a $2.5 million performer, or even bigger, compared to what your goals are. It's everybody has to be hitting on all cylinders at all times. And this is just justification. And, having that justification and quantification there to be able to say, there's no stone unturned, and we can account for every single dollar that's being spent. But more importantly, we can justify the fact that these Google calls really are working. Your digital marketing company become one of your biggest assets in your organization. And, we have the ability to be able to show you how that works, because the one thing about Sean and I is that and our organization is that we're not about smoke and mirrors, and we're not about trying to snowball you. If we've dropped the ball, we'll own it, and we'll fix it, so, but also too, we need everybody to understand their part of it as well, which is once we bring the calls to the table, you've got to convert them. So if you need some help with that, we're throwing out the lifeboat, we're throwing out the life vest. We will get on the phones and do some residual training because we care that much about you and your success. So that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. We'll get that replay out this afternoon for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up. We'll talk to you guys soon.